Hey, everybody, this is Carl James, and welcome to another episode of Can I Have a Word, the podcast that explores the importance of language and the impact it has on our identity and the people we become. So on this show, we've talked about how to define success, and today we're going to specifically hone in on one of the key factors needed to achieve that success. I believe we're all driven in different ways, and it's important to understand how we want to go about the work of executing our vision, whatever that vision may be. And we're also going to talk about what it takes to maintain that drive in the face of adverse circumstances. I'm delighted to have my friend Tyree, aka Ty McKinney, joining today's conversation. He works in content distribution at Sony Music Entertainment, but his passion is creating music. And this year, he officially became a member of the Recording Academy. Let's go. Ty, welcome to the podcast, sir.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I love that intro.
Do you like hearing all the accolades?
No, it's when you're in the throes of things, you tend to kind of like, okay, yeah, that happened, and you're focusing on the
Gloss
thing.
over it. You're like, I did that.
I did that. But then
No,
like
you
when
gotta
someone tells you, like, oh,
Sit
wait,
in it. Sit in it.
I did that.
Very-
I did that.
Yes.
So it's nice to hear.
Very happy to have you here.
Happy to hear.
So first, real basic.
Mhm.
I call you Ty.
Mhm.
Do you go by Tyree? Do you prefer Ty? What do you want?
It's neither one. Ty usually is more associated with the stage. So if I'm doing something like my artist stuff or I'm doing acting, so like Ty McKinney is like the stage name, but Tyree, that's what it's short for. So Ty is short for Tyree. My mama calls me that.
Okay.
Everybody in my family calls me that. My job calls me that. So it's all good.
We're gonna live in Ty.
We can live in Thailand.
We're gonna call it
We
Ty.
can live in Thailand.
Okay. So we became friends earlier this year, and so I know some things about you. We've had some conversations, obviously. But I'm excited to learn more about you. And so the way I usually like to start, I usually like to ask my guests, what is the story of your name? And that can take on any sort of interpretation you want. Who named you? Is there a cultural meaning behind it? Anything you want to share?
Wow, no one.
We already started
asked me
talking
that.
about the name, so
No one's ever asked me about my name. I like this. I like this
yes,
already.
let's go.
So my naming story is actually pretty interesting. So Tyree is actually my middle name. But technically, when I was born, it was my first name because my mom named me Tyree. She got it from the Bible because I forgot what scripture it is, but it's something about the land of Tyre. It's spelled like Tyre. It's probably Tyre. I don't know if that's actually correct, but that's where she got it from.
I love that, the land of Tyre.
Yeah, and something from what I remember, it's about like a group of people were taking refuge on that land. So that's what I remember when I researched it myself. But she liked that name. That was going to be my first name. But then my dad,
came in
because he was actually in service at the Navy at the time. So he came in actually after I was born, like the day after I was born, and he made this whole thing about like I had to have his name for some like military reasoning or something like that. I just think he wanted me to have his name.
He just wanted in.
So yeah, he just wanted in basically. So they had some like weird like discrepancies at the hospital because the whole back and forth with the naming thing. So my first name is actually Brandon.
Fun fact. Didn't know that.
Great. So because that's also my dad's name. So it's
Okay.
Brandon Tyree McKinney. That's my whole name. But no one in my family calls me Brandon besides my dad.
Wow.
It's a very weird thing. Like he's the only one who calls me that because we already have like 2 or 3 Brandons in the family. So
it wasn't even like, it was just the continuity of having that name.
the continuity of having that name.
Okay.
So, but no, I don't go by it anymore. Just because it was like, yeah, no, I don't feel like a Brandon. Even though some, people from like childhood, like, because they knew me as that from like grade school, like they call me that. But yeah, no, but Tyree is the name that I go by now more than ever. Just because it's my mom that she named me that.
Right.
I always felt like that is who I was. I remember growing up, I would collect, I would be given, I still have them, but the orange Nickelodeon like tapes. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
Throwback.
Throwback VHS tapes. VHS. So
R.I.P. VHS.
R.I.P. I still have my VCR player in my parents' basement. Yeah, we have to keep that. We have to keep it alive.
Amazing.
But whenever I would get a, VHS tape, because people would give me like stuff from like my birthday or for
Right.
Christmas or whatever, my mom would write my name on the VHS tape. Like she would write Tyree McKinney, like all. So I guess if they ever got lost or whatever, like we know these are
where
his,
these are going.
These are his tapes.
Yes.
So it just always stuck. It just that was, I just felt like that was my name. And when I had this whole sort of identity crisis about like, do I like drop Brandon from like legally from my name because I just don't feel like,
because you're not using it.
I'm not using it, but I remember having that conversation with my mom about it. She was like, "No, just keep it. Like, I think that would really hurt your dad."
There would be some conversations.
There would be some conversations, and at the time I was like, "I don't care. Like, I want to drop it because I just don't feel like it's my name." But I
feel like you worked it out. You like, this is what I go by, but it's still there.
Yeah,
so it's all a part of you.
Yeah, but that's how it happened.
Wow. Now, where did you grow up? I know it's in the South.
Atlanta.
Yes.
So I grew
ATL.
ATL. Can I cuss on here?
Yeah.
Oh, ATL, ho.
Okay.
I was like, wait a minute, can I cuss on this podcast? We don't know what
the decorum is.
The decorum is. Okay.
We're open here.
We're open here. So
yes.
ATL, ho. What up? But yes, I was born technically in Decatur, Georgia. Decatur, where it's greater. But I grew up on the east side of Atlanta and some suburbs in and out of Atlanta. Like I went to elementary school, middle school, college in Atlanta.
Everything. Atlanta.
So yeah.
Amazing. So now we're going to get into it.
We're going to get into it.
So Tyree.
Yes.
Ty. Mm-hmm. Can I have a word?
Yes, you can have a word.
What is your word for today?
My word for today is ambition.
Ambition. So, ambition, we could think of it as a desire to do something or achieve something, requires hard work, determination. Very basic definition, but what is your definition of ambition?
Ambition to me is I use it as like a verb, I guess. So I'm being ambitious, is taking charge of your life and deciding to, if you don't like something in your life, you're going to change it. Like I'm fighting for the life that I want. Like if I want to be the best-selling, artist of all time, I'm going to do the work to do that. If I just want to be able to have, peace in my life where it's like, hey, I'm not going to, do some practice in some unwellness practices, do some bad stuff or have, bad people around me. I'm going to make sure I don't have that in my space. If I, even just on the simple tip of like, hey, I want to be able to feel good in my skin. I want to feel, healthy in my skin. So I'm going to fight for a workout routine that works for me. I'm going to carve space for it in my busy life because my health matters to me more so than not. So just fighting for, not even say just completely fighting for it, but really going for the things that I want, with, no apologies or no sort of like thought about it. Yeah.
I love that. So I'm just going to give people a little bit of the secret sauce. So normally with this show, when I, invite guests on, some people come ready with the word. They're like, this is what I want. This is what I want my word to be. This is what I'm going to talk about. And this is my approach. I'm like, cool, got it. Let's do it. And then for other guests, sometimes we have to sort of back into it, kind of hearing the life story and kind of what sort of bubbles up. And sort of that's what we were doing with you.
We were doing.
He's like, "What story are you telling? Go with it."
I know this.
You know what I'm saying.
Going.
And I usually give folks like a little questionnaire that just try to tap into some things, like things you might have heard growing up, things that might have filtered into your life that might impact who you are now. And so after reading Ty's responses to the questions, I felt like this thing around ambition or ambitious, as you're using it, kind of popped up, and I suggested it, and someone did not love that choice, and I was like, I'm sorry, I thought that's what I was getting. So my question is, can we talk a little bit about your ambivalence around the word? Because I found it really fascinating.
Yes.
Because I was very excited, and then you stole my joy. Excited. And so now
I was like, ambitious? Ambition? No, that's not
offended
me. I was
that
really
was the word. I was like, what's the problem? So talk about it.
My sort of the context was that growing up, I would hear, oh, someone's being ambitious as they're kind of like in a negative light. Like they are pursuing things without regard of other people. It's more so kind of like I'm doing this and I don't care what anybody says, or it just gave me very much like high performative go getter, always on, not kind of like the boss, but it just didn't seem like a good healthy like word. And so for me, I was like, I'm more like pragmatic or like sensitive.
Can we lean in a different direction?
Like tender? Like can we do something like that? And he was like, no.
I was like, no, I don't like any of that.
I was like, no, because like your story does not give those things. I mean, those things are who
it's
you
a
are.
part
It's a part
of it.
you.
Yes.
But that's not the word that kind of jumps out at me. And then so as we talked about it, I was like, yeah, no, I can see the ambitious side of like, I can see the ambition when it comes to me of like how I've just lived my life, because everything that I've achieved, everything that I've gone through, I've fought for my life. Like I literally was like, I want this in my life. I want to do this. I want to be out. I want to go for the things I want to, my dreams, and I want to move to New York, and my health. I'm doing all the things that I want from my life with any means necessary. Well, not any means, but you know what I mean.
Within reason.
Within reason.
Yes.
Within reason. And so as we were talking about ambition, I was like, well, yeah, that is very ambitious. Like you're fighting for your life in a healthy, positive way, and yeah.
I like the idea of kind of fighting for your life and you being sort of the leader of that fight. So where did that sensibility come from? Like that seems like a very adult kind of way to think about it. And I don't know how long you felt that way or if you've had that sensibility, but you give me old soul vibes. So
I've gotten that my entire life.
Yes, I too. I understand. So yeah, just talk a little bit about sort of where that sense of, that ownership of your life and like being very intentional about the choices you made as you fight for your life, as you say.
It started out when I was a kid. So I knew that I was gay. I knew that I was gay. I didn't have the word for it, but I just knew I was different when I was younger, around like 6 years old. And I, of course, like, insert any queer kid, had to repress it, be in the closet, hide it, being, living out of fear of being persecuted, attacked, ostracized.
As many of us did.
As many of us did. Especially being a black gay from the South in the Bible Belt.
Right.
Good Lord.
And your family is religious.
Religious.
Yes.
Southern Baptist.
They were like, take that out of here.
Take that out of here. Even though we're all in the choir.
Literally.
But
anyway.
Different episode. But I just knew I was different, and I had to basically repress that part of myself and my identity. And I always felt like I had to, sort of overcompensate for that. And it built this sort of like, I would say, high performative, like performance person of, kind of like personality or persona, actually. I would say persona more than personality. And I just was basically the straight A student with some B's, extracurriculars, all the things, like the golden child. That was basically my whole like MO for a long time.
Like overperforming in that
like,
way.
Because I always thought like, hey, if, you see me as this kind of like shiny kind of like thing, if you found out this deep, dark secret that I like,
you won't even care because I'm so fabulous.
Because I'm fabulous.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Same.
It was literally that. So the whole fighting for my life was the like, I have to, unfortunately at this young age, I have to make myself indispensable in order to survive the landscape that I was in.
Can I just say because I also had that same idea at a fairly young age. It was normal to me then, but if you think about the kind of pressure that puts on a kid who is just trying to go to school and live life, like what were we doing? I mean, I know what we were doing. We were fighting for our life. But the idea that that's how you had to think of yourself and the way that you had to sort of position yourself in relation to like who you engaged with and how you showed up to school, like you couldn't just be a kid. And so I don't know if people out there understand what that feels like, but that was a real feeling that many of us had, where you felt like, I have to be the absolute best version of myself in order for people to not care about this very important part that I'm hoping you don't see.
Right. No, that was my life from elementary school, high school. Yeah. It was really up until end of high school, beginning of college, where I was like slowly like coming back to self. Because I would always tell people, I'm like, the closet was glass. Like,
many of us were in closets that were quite
see-through. Like, I didn't have that many clothes in there. You can still see him. He's right there. He's right there. It's just him. But it was that high performance like persona that I'm like, yeah, like if I'm going to, you know, not take myself out of here, like, because, you know, if we can go deep dark to that tunnel of like,
we'll go there.
Like, I have to act this way in order to survive. And then hopefully there's a time where I can, you know, be and just relax and, you know, come to self again, or come back to self. But yeah, it was a lot of high performative stuff.
So as a kid and, you know, sort of going through adolescence and then coming into your own, who or what inspired you? So I know you obviously had a strong sense of self, but did you have role models that you looked to? Like, who did you try to either emulate, or who inspired you to keep going?
You know, it was me.
It was you holding you down.
It was me holding me down. And I won't say that it was just like I didn't have any inspirations. My inspiration was stardom. Because I was also, you know, a child actor, like not like, of course, a famous child actor, but I was doing like community theater. I was in school plays. I was auditioning for stuff.
Okay.
So I was doing that. Like I thought,
and you enjoyed doing it.
I enjoyed doing that because my whole plan was I'm going to be this famous like Disney kid, and it's gonna just, you know,
Mickey Mouse Club.
Like I was gonna be, you know, That's a Raven. Like we are going. That is the goal. We're getting to Disney Channel or Nickelodeon. It didn't matter which one, but Disney was like, you know, compromise. But that was my plan. So it was like, I'm going to be a star, and that's keeping me going. If it doesn't matter if kids are bullying me, it doesn't matter that I'm not, you know, having relationships or having crushes on, well, I was having crushes on boys, but I, you know, having, you know, the little small little dating things like, do we go together? You know, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. So I have to be a star. I have to be a star. And so having that mindset of like, I'm going to do this. I know it doesn't matter that I'm feeling blue or feeling sad about X, Y, and Z. I'm going to be a star. See myself on the Disney Channel, like, doing the, hi, it's Time McKinney, and you're watching Disney Channel.
And doing commercials.
Okay,
great.
It was literally like that having that mindset is what kept me going. So I didn't have like I want to be like, you know, maybe this person, or even in my personal life. Like, it was literally, no, me. I'm the one who's going to get me out of this craziness that I'm in.
Well, first of all, I love the sort of dedication to like, no, this is the goal and this is where we are. Look, I still believe in my mind at some point I'm going to win an Oscar. So I don't know how.
Okay.
But like, you hold on to those, you throw it out there. You put those ideas in your head, and oftentimes that's the fuel that you need to keep going, because you believed, and you still believe, because you have something to contribute and you have something to say.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, like as a kid, particularly to hold on to. So you had this great drive at this, you know, at this point in your life. How did it go, and when did it start to not go according to plan, if you know where I'm going?
Yeah. Oh, it did not go according to plan. I would say kind of closer to college. I would say in college.
Okay.
That's where reality started to really kick in, because I was still doing the whole auditioning, you know, things. I was in film and theater school at Georgia State University.
Okay.
So I was doing that, and, you know, really kind of getting the lay of the land of the business and how things, you know, basically work. And the auditioning is the job.
Did you have a manager or agent or anything like that? Or was this all you?
All me, just, you know, doing like background work. I was the king of doing background work. I was doing background work when I was like 13.
Yo, background work can hold you down.
I was in, you know, Stump the Yard too. I was in the crowd.
Throw out the credits.
Look, I got credits now. Okay, I was doing stuff.
IMDb him, y'all. IMDb.
It's not that much,
may
but it's
not be
stuff there. It's stuff there. But then I realized that me trying to do this dream or pursuing this dream was not going to absolve me of the lack of self-development that I really needed to do. Like, you still weren't out. You still have those complications about religion and your sexuality, or not even your sexuality. First of all, I hate when they're like, "Oh, your sexuality is a problem." You mean my sexual orientation? Sexuality, they ain't got none of your business. That's what I do.
Yep.
But my sexual orientation. So having
what I profess to the world.
What I profess to the world. Sort of having that sort of internal conflict that wasn't resolved, wasn't out to my family at that point. And I was really having some anxiety. That's when my anxiety really started to just like become really, really loud and really debilitating. I was having super bad panic attacks around my junior year of college, to the point where I was like, I had to go to the hospital, and it was all because I wasn't dealing with the stuff of like, oh, you didn't get a chance to really be yourself. You've done this sort of high performative persona for so long, and it's breaking down. Like, you got to let it go. Like, right. You got to kind of like
come to grips with
what's here. And so I had like an audition that it did not go well. It did not go well, and I was just having this moment. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, this is what's supposed to happen, and like I was supposed to be this, teen pop star, like Disney Channel thing, whatever. Like, I had this whole thing. And it just was not happening because I was, I was coming to terms with like, oh yeah, I'm getting older.
I'm aging out of teen
pop stardom. like there's only so much you can do. Like
the clock is
ticking. Like, you still look like a kid a little bit, but it's time to kind of grow up a little bit.
Right. So now all of this stuff is starting to like really reach a boiling point. What did you do to sort of grapple with all of it? Because that's a lot coming at you at once.
It was. In fact, it came down because I had, I'll never forget this. I had like one of those major panic attacks where hospital was called because I was at work.
Okay.
And it was about this guy. It was this guy who I was, I don't even want to call it love, but at the time I was I was enamored. I had such a crush on him. And it was more so the fact that I was like, oh, I have genuine feelings for this person. It's not that I just think he's cute. I was like, oh my God, I care about him. I want to know why he's not talking to me.
And they weren't being reciprocated.
And it was unrequited. And it just sent me over. And just the sight of him literally sent me over. I was just like hyperventilating. They had to call the ambulance and stuff like that, and they couldn't figure out what was going. Look, the doctor's like, yeah, this is all mental. Something going on in the mental. They're like, yeah, you should talk to someone because I feel like this is, something's.
There's some stuff.
There's some stuff there that needs to be addressed.
Out.
And even what also kind of like was the I would say the switch was that my grandmother. My mom and my grandmother came to the ER, and they were like, well, what's going on? I'm just stressed because it was like finals time and all that stuff that was happening too. But they were like, are you in love or something? And I was like, no.
Alert. Oh Lord.
So when the doctor told me that, they basically were like, yeah, you need to, whatever you need to talk about, you need to get it out. And that was literally how I started to come out, because I had this basically $1,000 ER bill attached to my name, and I'm like, well, I ain't got time to let this happen again. So we're gonna have to
whatever we can
do to go the opposite direction, because this is not happening again. And so I started to rebuild my life off of that experience.
Wow. And so you start that process. Obviously, I mean, coming out regardless of age, regardless of the timing is never easy, but what was it like for you? And did you feel like, yes, this is what needs to be happening? Like, even though this is hard, like, I feel like this is the right thing to do for me now.
For me, money is a motivator. So that bill, because I had to pay it. Luckily I had 2 student jobs and I was able to pay it. But $1,000 at that time was like, what?
Yeah.
Even now, because I ain't rich, but Then, as a college kid,
no.
Oh, I was terrified to having to I actually had to pay this back because I was an ER. So I had that in my what do you call those things? Like the cork boards?
Yeah.
I had it on my cork board in my dorm room, and it was kind of like my reminder to kind of like, hey, if you're having an anxiety attack or whatever about this whole process that you're finna, embark on, remember that bill. You want to pay that bill?
It's there.
Like you want to pay another one?
You want to round two of that?
Round two of that? No. So you just gonna have to breathe through it.
Yeah.
So I was coming out to friends. Some friends already knew. We just never spoke about it, but I had to say something. Well, I didn't have to, but I felt the need to say something to them because I'm like, hey, you guys are my closest friends. This is what's been going on behind the curtain of all that stuff. So they were the easiest ones to get through. My parents were not.
Different story.
My dad, they were both in denial, but they were aware because this wasn't the first rodeo where I'm like, could he be gay? Like there were moments before.
Now wait, did they know about the panic attacks and things like that?
Yeah, no, because
they were
they were aware of what was going on because they were my emergency contacts. Yes, they were called. Okay. I had like panic attacks before. So they were aware.
So they knew that, but they now were divulging what
what is behind it.
Behind it, yeah.
So told my dad because he is a Southern black man, military veteran, like grew up in the hood, but intelligent hoodlum, as my mom would call him, because he's very smart. Like he got his MBA and everything, but still. Dude from the East Side.
Those are a lot of factors to work through.
There's a lot of factors to work through. So I'm like, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. He's going to be the hardest person to talk about this with. So we had a talk. I was like, hey. He's like, what's really going on with you? I was like, yeah, there's this guy. I think I like him. Like him. Like, I think I have genuine feelings for him.
And Dad says...
He went to get a cigar. And went to get I think he got some bourbon. Because he was like...
I mean...
He was like,
we need something.
He was just like, I just don't know about this. I just, I don't, in denial. Because of course, I'm his only son. So he didn't want to have to face the fact. I was like, yeah, you have a gay child. You have a gay son. Like, it's possible. It's possible.
And it was a time. When, I mean, not that it was that long ago, but it was a time when parents still didn't necessarily know, like, what am I supposed to do now? How am I supposed to help my child through this?
Right.
Now, yes, there are resources, but, when you've got Southern Baptist, military, like a lot of things where the spaces where this doesn't get talked about, no one gives you the pamphlet for and now your child who is of adult age is now going through this. What is your responsibility as a parent? So parents struggle. I get it. Mine did.
Mine still do.
Still do. Still do. Okay. So that happened.
Came out to my mom as well, like sort of kind of later. And she actually knew the guy that I was having all these things about because she had met him before. Not in the context of we didn't date or anything of that nature. We were buddies at the time. But she came to my dorm sometimes, so she would see him.
Mm-hmm.
So she knew that, there was somebody in, she was aware. Still was kind of like, well, I don't accept it. Like, I don't, denial. And I'm like,
right.
Okay, we can deny it. It's all,
it's still going to be there. But...
It's still going to be there. And yeah, so I had to, deal with that sort of, okay, well, I've talked about it, but we're still in this sort of weird block where, okay, I've come out to my inner circle, friends, family, but I'm still not out because my parents don't endorse it. And also I'm still figuring out what do I do now?
Right.
But it was very just a lot of anxiety ridden, a lot of shakiness. And I was also graduating college at the same time.
Well, I was just going to ask, are you still pursuing your performing arts career? Are you still doing things? I was
still doing that.
In that vein? How are you balancing all of that?
It was, now in hindsight, it was a lot. I was finishing school. coming out and then graduating and then realizing that, okay, I got to get a job. So it was a lot of reality was just setting in. I'm like, okay, yeah, auditions aren't really paying off. You don't have an agent. You really, you can get work in Atlanta, but the real work is in LA. Can you really go to LA right now? You don't have a job or the funds to do that.
And then you're just in that loop of like all of the things are happening. And I don't know where to focus my energy first because it's all like now.
And then had to move back home because, of course, where you gonna live?
You ain't got no money.
You ain't got no money. And then going home and I'm like, well, I came out.
This is not the warmest.
This is not the warmest space to be in. And you're like, okay. So it was a lot of reality set in those like post-college years to where I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do now? And I stuck it out. But a lot of the reality set in of okay, my parents are gonna have this disposition about it, me being out. You out. So you told them, you gave them that courtesy, that respect. If anything else, they can't say they didn't know because I told you. Like it's not like you found out like through some sort of scandal or something like that. You heard it straight from my mouth. I'm gay. So I kind of like made my peace a little bit with that because I was like, I told them something, whatever. If you see me, in the neighborhood, or if your friend or your friends see me in the neighborhood and they want to talk to you about it, and I'm like, I saw your son out there. What's going on with them? I'm like, well.
The trauma of just trying to be out in the neighborhood where you're from. And afraid of who you might run into.
Ooh, that was a thing in college too. I could not be seen in certain bars or certain like if you're in Atlanta, like 10 to Piedmont, that area. I was not there. I was not at Pride because I was like, I could not be seen.
You're not running into these folks.
You're not running into these folks because folks talk. Especially in the South. Folks talk.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow. Okay. So we're going through all of that. We're processing all of these things, but we're still pursuing the career.
Somehow.
Trying to make that work. So at what point, maybe fast forwarding a little bit, when do things, I'll say, turn a corner? When do you feel like, oh, like maybe this is still the path and maybe this is working? Because now you've sort of owned who you are, maybe a little bit more comfortable in your skin and sort of how you show up in the world. When do things kind of, change for the better, let's say?
I would actually say around 2015, 16, because I was always doing music, like covers or something like that, and like towards the end of college. But I really started to like dive into it because at the end of the day, when I was like, oh, well, when auditions aren't happening, what can I do? I can always make music. I can always sing a song, do a cover,
right.
Write something. I could always do that. And I was learning guitar at the time. So literally transitioning to just focus on music. Because acting, my plan was, even as a kid, I was going to be the Disney Channel kid, but then, I was going to, have my little second career as a musician.
Second career.
And then I was going to transition fully to the music and then, do my acting occasionally. That was the master plan.
Oh, so you were the flip of Zendaya.
I was the flip of Zendaya.
Okay,
yeah.
Great.
I was going to give you full, euphoria. But I was going to be Miley Cyrus.
Okay.
That equivalent. Like she sings first, then she acts occasionally. That was the plan. So I was like, well, let's just, do music. That's what we can control, quote unquote, as far as like having an artistic outlet. Instead of
because you can create it.
I can create it. I don't have to wait on someone for an opportunity. I can create my own opportunity. So I was leaning into that, and then actually with writing, was writing about like stuff. Like I was really writing. The real stuff. The real shit.
Yeah.
I was writing. And I was like, oh wow, this is so cathartic. And I've always wanted to pursue music. Like music was actually the first love before acting. My first thing I ever did was I sang in my church's like Christmas pageant.
Oh, gotta love a Christmas pageant.
I love a Christmas pageant. I was a star. The play was literally called A Star Is Born.
And it was Ty.
And it was me. I got an award for a scene stealer in the musical.
That's so trash.
So yeah. So it was like, this is what I was supposed to do in my life.
Stealing scenes. So leading into music those couple of years, 2015, 2016,
that's where, in the midst of me working jobs just to, save money while I was living at my parents' house, that really was the thing. And just learning the guitar. My dad would always like go in on me because he's like, you and that guitar just zooming. Like I would just hit like, because
he was not a fan.
He was not a fan because I was literally just like plucking the guitar. Like I was teaching myself. Self-taught. Like I was looking at YouTube University. I was literally like
the
learning.
University of
YouTube. Okay. Literally just teaching myself, like learning chords of different songs that I loved, and was just teaching myself. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is what a chord progression is. Okay, let me just take this chord progression and just like remix it and make it my own song and whatever.
That's so impressive, though.
So I was
just
doing that.
Go for it.
And then once I really got into the writing of like songwriting, it was like, oh,
that was the outlet.
It was the outlet. Like, I can talk about everything. I can talk about
all on the table.
All unrequited love, my relationship with my parents, like me trying to be an artist in this world of entertainment, the journey. Like I could just really be melodramatic and, let it all out.
Yeah.
And that was like my saving grace. Music has always been a saving grace for me, but I remember that time, like towards the end of college and then going into towards like 2014 and 2016, like leading into music was the switch. It was like I can still, do the acting thing on the side. Because I was actually kind of falling out of love with acting at that time too, because it was like, it's all about your look and it's about, who you know, type
who you like.
And I was like, fuck this shit. I'm tired of this shit. I really am. I was like, and then I was like, oh, I'm gay too. So that's gonna be a thing too. And I'm like, I'm not going back in the closet just for a job. So I was like, with music, at least I can be myself. And I didn't know if it was going to do anything or like if I was going to really be this like platinum selling superstar or whatever. But at the end of the day, it was like, this gives me peace. This gives me, an outlet, and I can control it to, a certain degree. Like I control the art.
Right.
So leading into that.
So where are things now? I mean, you are putting things together, recording.
We're recording. Oh my goodness.
Things are forthcoming. I've heard.
Forthcoming, yes. Literally putting together my first album.
Love it. Love it.
I put out projects before. I put out like mixtapes and a couple of EPs that I professionally released, self-released. But this is like my first album. And I've been trying to do an album for 10 years.
That is what we call commitment, everyone.
Commitment.
Wow. And further, ambitious.
It's ambitious. But I remember having this childhood dream when I was like 12 of doing like being a, the Disney, pop star. I was
still in the mind.
Still in the mind. I was like, I just want to give myself this moment. And I've been writing a lot, especially with the pandemic. It was a lot of like zeroing in on that process, figuring out what songs. I had like a whole, like I've been like, not a lot of songs. It's been like, I would say 30, 40 songs-ish in that range.
Come on, catalog. What?
Child. Look, that's nothing compared to the artist people that I know that they have like hundreds and hundreds. It's just, and I'm like,
all kinds of just things that
and I'm like,
released.
My brain don't work like that. For me, it has to be something that really inspires me, whether it's good, bad, or whatever. Like it has to really hit me to write. It's not like I'm gonna just write just to write. I'm like, no, it doesn't mean anything. I gotta feel inspired. So yeah, it took me a while to really get it right, and then going through money, trying to fund the thing, producers left and right, trying to get the right sort of set, and then I ended up self-producing it.
Of course. Like you do.
And gotta fight for what you want. I had to fight for what I wanted. And I was like, I'm going to, if the only way this is going to get out, the way I can get it out is if I am at the helm. And I've worked with producers in the past where I'm like, I trusted their vision more so than mine. It was a hand in hand, but it was like, all the bells and whistles and stuff. I just made the demo. So we're gonna go what you want to do. Whereas this time now, it's like I truly am at the helm. I'm like behind the board, telling engineers like, mix it this way. Let's compromise here, and hiring musicians and.
It's a process. But you're in control of it.
I'm in control of it.
That's amazing. So we're nearing the end here, but I'm just curious.
I wasn't ready. I
Okay,
felt like
well, we can do a part two.
we can do a part two.
We'll work it out.
We can work a part two. I like talking with Carl.
Aw. Tell all your friends, please.
I will tell all of them to come to space. Come to the space.
So I'm really intrigued by your whole sort of journey and trajectory. And I just want you to talk a little bit about, I mean, you've mentioned it, the mindset that it takes to sort of, I don't know, get through and to continue pushing for those things that you want. Because as you've talked about, I'm sure a lot of people listening and watching know, you can have all of the dreams and visions in the world, but life will come at you with all it has and things you didn't know it had.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have to sit and question, like, is this still the path for me? Because I have gone through many iterations of career choices and things because I thought this was the path and then it felt like it wasn't. And so then I pivoted. How do you know when this is still the thing and this is where you're supposed to be? Can you just talk about the mindset that it takes to keep going?
It's truly the love. The love is what for me, it keeps me going. When it came to acting, I knew it was time to pivot because I didn't love it. I appreciate it. I respect the craft of acting. I love cinema. I love TV. But I was falling out of love with it because I had a childlike love for it. But as an adult, I grew that I didn't have it anymore. It was just more of a respect. Music I always loved. And to be doing music, like really honestly for 10 years, what keeps me going is that I love music so much. Like people don't have to listen to my music. It's like the fact that I can bring this sort of melody, this poetry out of my head and actually make it to this like 3 to 4 minute like song. It's nothing like that. It's such a deep love for music. And even though the musicians, like just listening to albums, like I start my day with music, end my day with music. Like it just feels
all day,
my life,
every day.
All day, every day.
I mean, music is so universal. I mean, there's literally something for everyone.
Yeah,
and so, I mean, as hard as it is, obviously, to make music viable commercially.
Yes, it is very hard.
The process of making it and creating it, there is an audience for it somewhere. Now, the business of it, I can't speak to all of that. But
that's a whole other episode.
That's a different episode. But I think, kind of to your point, if it's something that you truly love, you'll find a way to keep it in your life.
Yeah, it keeps you going.
Yeah.
Love literally keeps you going, even when you want to just like throw in the towel. And sometimes you got to take a break. You have to know when you have to be like, okay, let me back away from this.
Breaks are okay.
Breaks are okay. Right. I took breaks.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to get your life in order.
Get it right. Get it right, please.
Get your house in order.
You can't create from a place of utter chaos.
People do.
People do.
But is it healthy?
Good?
And is it sustainable?
Right.
No, it's not. It's not. And I learned that the hard way. Trust me, I learned it the hard way. But knowing like you have a love for this, like even if you weren't monetarily successful, you would still do it. And that's when you know that like, okay, no, I'm aligned.
Then you're in the right space. Yeah. Is there anything else that you would like to share, Ty? We are nearing the end.
I'm like having fun right now.
Aww.
I'm like, wait, what you mean? We gotta end. I was like,
it is fun.
It is fun. It's fun talking about these type of things because I feel like hearing real human stories about life and like pivoting and purpose.
Yeah,
those things are so needed. We need to hear these type of stories. So thank you for holding the space.
Well, thank you for being here. But I will also say before we go, because you mentioned this, and I think it's really important. We all have sort of visions and dreams of things that we want to accomplish, and sometimes we look at the end goal as being like, whether it's I want to be a pop star or I want to win the Oscar or whatever the thing is, or produce my own play. There are a lot of small victories along the way that we just completely blow past because we're just looking at the one thing that we think is going to make us successful. And I think in moments like this where you can sit and talk about the twists and the turns and the ups and the downs, the lefts and the rights, where you can say like, oh, there was a little victory there.
That was the victory. That was actually what kept me going. Like Tisha Campbell says, it's the journey.
Right.
It's the journey.
It didn't seem that way at the time, and I think in these moments when you can really sit and be with the entirety of your story, you realize like, oh, I did some real good shit. Really accomplished a lot. And I'm terrible at this. I do not give myself credit. I do not celebrate achievements the way that I should. And it's something I'm trying to get better at.
Me too.
#therapy.
Works in progress. Therapy. Yep. Go to therapy.
Please.
Everybody.
I mean, on every episode, I feel like I mention it, but it is really important to like take time to figure out what you need. And if it is talking to someone, please do it.
Please do.
It's helpful.
It's helpful.
But yes, I think in this moment, it's great to celebrate what you've accomplished, where you've come from, where you are, and recognizing that the journey is still ongoing.
And I, even with finishing this album that's forthcoming, I literally had this moment. I'm like, oh man, it's done. And I'm like, now what? And I'm like, let me just take a moment
to take a beat.
But the whole journey of making it, I was like, man, like I was just sitting with it. And I was like, this has been a wild ride, but I am so proud of myself for just pushing through the twists, the turns, the doubts, the breaks to like just finishing a body of work, like my first full body of work. And I'm like, man, like that's nothing beats that. Nothing beats that. Like that self appreciation.
Yes. Even for me doing this podcast, the journey. Y'all don't know.
Y'all don't know.
I mean, the number of times I was like, nope, we're not doing it. And I was like, and people pushed me and people encouraged me. But really, you have to push yourself. And I think that's really the lesson. Anything that just stays with you. If you go to sleep, wake up, it's still there. Then you probably should be doing it. You don't know what it's going to be. You don't know what it's going to look like. I had no idea what this would look like. But once you're in it and you're doing it, you're like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that I'm here with you, Ty.
I'm here
Thank
with
you for sharing.
Thank you for having me.
No, this has been great. And obviously, I guess we have to do a part 2 because you just announced that you want to come back.
Yeah, I want to come back.
So we'll make that happen somehow. So we're going to leave it there for now. Thank you for joining. And I'll see you on the next episode of Can I Have a Word? Bye, everybody.